parable for our daily lives. Last week, John did the most exciting thing that he could do, which was be the life of the party. And he said all the things that made everybody happy. His baby mama showed up, and they reconciled. And she's like, look, I didn't want to get an abortion, but I knew you didn't want to know. Yeah, and then everybody gave him a hug and a kiss, and now he's gonna go to the opening ceremony of a new city. And we finished part 5. No, it was much worse than that, actually. Hiroko was like, I'm growing them in test tubes, and there's nothing you can do to stop me because you submitted your semen samples to NASA. But you know, live and let live. She's literally Elon Musk. Oh my god. No, she's who Elon Musk wishes he could be, which is an Asian woman with ambition. And now we're on part 6. Guns under the table. Oh my god, they just say it. Oh my... They just go right there. The day John Boone was assassinated. I can't handle it. I can't. I don't think I can finish the book. I don't think I can finish it. I just started to believe. Guns Under the Table, part 6. I'm gonna be sick. It's actually part sick because I'm gonna throw up. The day John Boone was assassinated, we were up on East Elysium and it was morning. And this meteor shower came raining down on us. Oh yeah, wait. Okay, wait. There's one more part of the summary I wanted to do. They just had a crazy... Wait, did I say that? They had a crazy party on Olympus Mons, and all of John's friends came because he's the party guy. And all that stuff happened, and they watched a big comet or not a comet, they were bringing in the asteroid that they're going to use to build the space elevator, which has probably not going to be mentioned again, it's not that important, but they're building a space elevator. And they're bringing in a comet that they're going to use for materials and as a ballast. I don't know. I forgot. I don't even know why I had to stop and say all that, but I forgot to say it. Yes, a meteor. Okay, I'm gonna do a handstand so that John never dies. Pretend I didn't read anything yet. I usually make those noises, but you guys can't hear it over the music. Thank you. For John. Nicotine gum bookmark. Whatever works. Okay, the day John Boone was assassinated, we were up on East Elysium, and it was morning, and this meteor shower came raining down on us. There must have been 30 streaks or so, and they were all black. I don't know what those meteorites were made of, but they burned black instead of white. Like smoke from crashing planes, except straight and fast as lightning. It was so strange to see that we were all amazed, and we hadn't even yet heard the news. But when we did, we figured back, and it happened at exactly the same time. We were down in Hellas lakefront, and the sky went dark, and a sudden wind whipped over the lake and blew every walk tube in the town away. And then we heard. We were in Senzani Na, where he worked a lot, and it was night, and lightning started hammering us. Giant bolts of lightning shooting right down into the mole. No one could believe it, and it was so loud you couldn't hear. And there was a picture of him down in the workers' quarters, up on the wall of one suite, and a lightning bolt hit the concourse window, and everyone was blinded for a second. And when our sight returned, the frame of that picture was busted, and the glass cracked, and it was smoking. And then we heard the news. We were in car, and we couldn't believe it. All the first 100 were there, crying. He must have been the only one in that whole gang that everyone liked. If most of them were killed, a good half of the rest of them would be cheering. Arkady was out of his mind. He cried for hours, and it was so scary because it was so unlike him. Nadia kept trying to comfort him, and she was saying, "It's all right. It's all right." And Arkady kept saying, "It's not all right. It's not all right," and roaring and throwing things, and then falling into Nadia's arms again. Even Nadia was freaked. And that was when he ran off to his room and came back with one of the ignition transmitter boxes. And when he explained what it was, Nadia got really furious at all of us. She said, "Why would you ever do a thing like that?" And Arkady was crying and yelling, "What do you mean, why? Because of this, because of what happened to John. They killed him. They killed him. Who knows which one of us will be next? They'll kill all of us if they can." And Nadia kept trying to get the transmitter back, and he got so upset, he kept making her hold it, saying, "Please, Nadia, please, just in case, please." Until finally she had to keep it, to get him to calm down. I never saw anything like it. We were in Underhill, and the power went off. And when it came back on, every plant in the farm had frozen solid. The lights and heat came back on, and the plants all began to wilt. We sat around all night telling stories about him. I remembered what it was like when he first touched down back in the 20s. A lot of us did. I was just a kid at the time. But I remember everyone laughing at his first words. I thought it was funny myself. But I remember being very surprised that all the adults were laughing too. Everyone was so tickled. I think everyone fell in love with him at that moment. I mean, how could you not like someone who was the first person on another planet, walking out there and saying, "Well, here we are"? It was impossible not to like him. Oh, I don't know. I saw him punch a man once. It was the Burroughs train, and he was in our car, obviously high. And there was this woman who had some kind of deformity, a big nose and no chin. And when she went down to the toilets, some guy said, "My lord, that woman has really been beat hard with the ugly stick." And boom, bam, knocks him into the next seat and says, "There's no such thing as an ugly woman." That's what he thought. That is what he thought. Why he slept with a different woman every night. And he didn't care what they looked like. Or how old they were. He had to talk fast when they found him with that 15-year-old. I don't suppose Toyatovna ever heard of that one. I don't suppose Twatnova ever heard of that one. Or it would have been his balls. I can't, okay. Or it would have been his balls. I don't know how to say that one. I know how it should be said, but I can't say it. I don't suppose Twatnova ever heard of that one. Or it would have been his balls. And hundreds of women would have gone wanting. He used to like to do it in two-person gliders, with the woman on top while he piloted. They just, wait, how does that work? The woman on top, are they saying John likes to get pegged? That's amazing. Okay. Oh man. Once I saw him pull a glider out of a downdraft that would have killed anyone else. It was a shear off, and it would have ripped the glider apart. I remember this one. We saw this one. It was a shear off, and it would have ripped the glider apart if he'd tried to resist it. But he just went with it. And if he'd tried, but he just went with it, and the plane dropped like a Rickover, 1,000 meters in a second. 3 or 4 times. Terminal velocity. And then when it was about to go smash, he just tweaked it to the side and up and pancaked it in about 20 meters. Came out with his nose and ears bleeding. He was the best pilot on Mars. He could fly like an angel. Hell, the whole first 100 would have been dead if he hadn't flown them into their orbital insertion. Hell, the whole first 100 would have been dead if he hadn't flown them into their orbital insertion. That's what I heard. There were people who hated him. And with good reason, too. He stopped the mosque on Phobos. I thought it said Phoebe. There were people who hated him. And with good reason, too. He stopped the mosque on Phobos from being built. And he could be cruel. I've never met a man more arrogant. We were on Olympus Mons, and the whole sky went black. Well, back before the beginning, Paul Bunyan came to Mars, and he brought his blue ox Babe with him. He walked around looking for lumber, and his every footprint cracked the lava and left a rift canyon. He was so tall he could reach into the asteroid belt while he walked around. And he chewed those rocks like Bing cherries and spit the pits out. And boom, there would be another crater. And then he ran into Big Man. It was the first time Paul Bunyan had ever seen anyone bigger than himself. And believe me, Big Man was bigger. The usual 2 magnitudes. And that ain't just twice as big, let me tell you. But Paul Bunyan didn't care. When Big Man said, "Let's see what you can do with that axe of yours," Paul said, "Sure." And with one stroke, he hit the planet so hard that all the cracks of Noctis appeared at once. But then, Big Man scratched the same spot with his toothpick, and the entire Marineris system yawned open. "Let's try bare fists," Paul said, and he landed a right cross on the southern hemisphere, and there was Argier. But Big Man tapped a spot nearby with his pinky, and there was Hellas. "Try spitting," Big Man suggested, and Paul spat, and Nergal Vallis ran as long as the Mississippi. But Big Man spat, and all the big outflow channels ran at once. "Try shitting," Big Man said, and Paul squatted and pushed out Serranius Stolus. But Big Man threw back his butt, and there was the Elysium Massif right next to it, steaming hot. "Do your worst," Big Man suggested. "Take a shot at me." And so Paul Bunyan picked him up by the toe and swung his whole bulk around and slammed him into the North Pole. So hard that the whole northern hemisphere is depressed to this day. But without even getting up, Big Man grabbed Paul by the ankle and caught up his blue ox babe in that same fist and swung them into the ground and slammed them right through the planet and almost out the other side. And that's the Tharsis Bulge. Paul Bunyan, almost sticking out. Ascraeus, his nose. Pavonus, his cock. And Argia, his big toes. And Babe is off to one side, pushing up Olympus Mons. The blow killed Babe and Paul Bunyan both. And after that, Paul had to admit he was beat. But his own bacteria ate him, naturally. And they crawled all around down on the bedrock and under the megaregolith. Down there, going everywhere, sucking up the mantle heat and eating the sulfides and melting down the permafrost. And everywhere they went down there, every one of those little bacteria said, "I am Paul Bunyan." I'll be right back.